host, Mr. Ali Aslan.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be... Miro Teran, ladies and gentlemen, here. Please welcome him. Now, thanks to President Pahor and to President Kaljulaid for joining the very first session and talking about the future of Europe. Now we want to widen the scope a bit. Of course, Europe will be part of this discussion, but again, Maria Espinosa, by the way, she is only the fourth woman to hold the position in UN history, the position of President of the UN General Assembly, and if I'm not mistaken, the very first woman from Latin America. So applause, I think, for this accomplishment. Multilateralism is at a crossroads. Now, you have brought upon a very passionate plea, of course, as one would come to expect from the President of the UN General Assembly. But the truth is, multilateralism is being increasingly questioned. It is true that there's growing discontent with globalization. Is the United Nations still, as the embodiment, if you will, of multilateralism, still the one institution to tackle with these issues?
I would say absolutely. I don't know of a plan B that we have as humanity. So that's what we have, and we have the obligation to make the best out of it. And I think I fully agree with President Pahor when he said we need multilateralism, but a better multilateralism, a multilateral system that can adapt to the challenges of the 21st century. And I think the 75th anniversary next year is going to be a golden opportunity to do something that is much needed. Sometimes we are accused to be a talk shop. Oh, New York, the UN talk shop. We do need to talk the talk. We do need to reinvigorate our narrative. We need to convince public opinion, our constituencies, that that's the best thing we have in hand. There is no way we're going to tackle climate change that we just mentioned with such passion with the previous speakers, to tackle issues such as migration. Migration is not only a European challenge, it's a worldwide challenge. There are 270 million migrants around the world, and we need some kind of a social understanding, a political agreement on what to do about migration. Same goes for terrorism, violent extremism, human trafficking, you name it. Poverty, job creation. But in here, the title is Crossroads, meaning we can go either way. But in my opinion, we can only go one way. And the one way is the future we want for the United Nations, which is the beating heart of the multilateral system.
So the relevance, the significance of Europe, of the United Nations, obviously still very much there, and perhaps more important in the years to come. Minister Borrell, your name has been mentioned a couple of times now. You are likely to become the next EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, taking over from Federica Mogherini. Some homework that the presidents have already bestowed upon you. I do want to take the opportunity of your presence here and asking about Brexit quickly as well, because this is an issue that will dominate the European agenda within the next 2 months. How do you assess Prime Minister Boris Johnson's tactic in undermining parliamentary democracy and suspending Parliament and sort of going full force for a no-deal Brexit?
Thanks. First of all, allow me to put one thing clear. It is evident I am not Ms. Mogherini.
Not yet.
No. But Ms. Mogherini will never be. Never be. As you said, I am not going to speak as a high representative, which I am not. You say likely, thanks so much for the confidence, but with respect to the Parliament, I am only the Foreign Affairs Minister of Spain.
That's a great accomplishment in and of itself.
I'm very proud of it, but it's a very different position from being...
So let me ask you as the Foreign Minister of Spain.
but he told me that they are leaving. Yes or yes, that they are leaving. That is a decision made by the government. I asked him, well, what about the parliament? He said, I don't think the parliament will be able to stop it. Take it the way you want. But it seems that Mr. Johnson has a clear idea to leave with agreement or without agreement. And it's sad to say, but after 2 years of hard working, I've been spending all my time in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. At least 1/3 of my work has been devoted to the Brexit. It seems that nothing happens. They will leave without an agreement, which for sure is not going to be a good thing for any one of us.
Pretty big waves coming at Europe, certainly on that front. Very big waves, Minister Çavuşoğlu, also on an issue that's been mentioned numerous times here, refugees, refugee migration. Now, your country has been at the forefront of this issue. If I'm not mistaken, Turkey has taken in up to 4 million refugees here. I'm sorry?
4.3.
4.3 Syrian refugees.
No, 4.3 altogether. 3.6 of them are from Syria.
There you go. Still, extremely high number as a neighboring country, of course, to Syria. We're talking about multilateralism here. How satisfied are you? Turkey has struck a deal with the EU on that front about tackling the issue of refugees and cooperating closely. As a country who's been at the forefront, as a country who's taken in that size amount of people, how satisfied are you with the level of cooperation with the European Union when it comes to the issue of refugees?
Well, we have a deal with the European Union that we agreed in 2016. It has been working, and Turkey has fulfilling its obligations since then. And EU, unfortunately, has not been able to reimburse 6 billion euros that they pledged. They were supposed to do that by the end of 2018, and now already we are about the end of 2019, and only 1/3 of that amount has been reimbursed, which is around $2 billion. And according to the deal, the EU is supposed to start voluntary resettlement when the number of the irregular crossings to the Greek islands go down. And it has went down dramatically from 7,000 per day to 100 per day. These days, I can say there has been an increase, but slightly. And according to this deal again, the EU promised to open more chapters for the full membership, for the accession. I just heard the president of Slovenia, Pahor, until last year he was strongly advocating Turkey's membership. I don't know what changed his mind.
Well, he has left the building, we can't ask him.
Probably Macron and some others. But there should be a principle of the continuity of the state and also the European Union. EU started negotiations with Turkey in 2003, 2004, for the full membership. What is the criteria here? Is it about the standards and the commitments? Turkey is ready to open any chapter. If Turkey doesn't meet the opening or closing benchmarks, okay, Turkey cannot be full member. But if Turkey meets the opening and benchmarks of the chapters, then we should actually continue our accession, negotiations at least. So this is the problem of the deal that we signed. But overall, as the international community, we have failed actually to deal with irregular migration. I say irregular. This terminology is also different than EU terminology. President Pahor repeatedly said illegal. So this is the sign of from which point of view we look at this problem. If you look at the problem from the security point of view, you say illegal migration. But if you look at from both points of view, from the humanitarian and the security, and then you use another terminology. This is the difference between the Council of Europe and the European Union, by the way. But what I am trying to say, we have failed to deal with this problem. Have we shown our solidarity with the source countries? There are around 70 million displaced persons in the world. This number is more than the displaced person during the World War II. And we have not been helping enough to source countries to tackle the root causes of this problem. And Turkey is a transit country. We have spent $37 billion from the state budget. And what we receive from international community is on less than $1 billion, in addition to what we get from European Union. When I say we, Syrian refugees in Turkey. Now, today, we have also failed in our integration policies, particularly European Union. There is no successful integration policy in the European Union. And also, we don't have any strategy to return these refugees to their source countries, to Syria particularly. Reconstruction of the country, we cannot do at this moment. This is what EU says, I can understand this. But at least we can supply their basic needs, like water, electricity, education, and healthcare services that we are doing in the area that we return.
But I clearly
overall,
I clearly understand that
it is not only the problem of Turkey.
Yeah, you're not satisfied. You're not satisfied with the EU-Turkey deal. The EU has not lived up to its end of the bargain, if I understand you correctly.
I was in Lebanon and Jordan recently. They are not satisfied either, so it's not the problem.
For Serhat, I'm not going to get into strategy, of course, between the EU and Turkey. This is not the topic. Multilateralism, though, is. Slovenia is a relatively small country in Europe, EU member since 2004, a little over 2 million people. Multilateralism has to be key for a smaller country like that of Slovenia. Can you give us very firm, realistic, real-life examples where your country is benefiting from multilateralism?
Okay, let me first say that you reminded me of saying that we are small enough to be big. Because even a very small country today can play a significant role in the world theater if it has ideas, if it has determination and responsibility. Now, of course, Slovenia is a, I would say, staunch advocate and champion of multilateralism, proving that not only by supporting many multilateral agreements and actions, but also producing ideas and initiatives of some very important projects regarding women equality, women empowerment, protection of vulnerable groups everywhere in the world. We are involved in certain very concrete projects in the Balkan area, like helping youth there through mediation, through education, etc. Then we do the same in Africa. We are very concerned about Yemen, together with our civil society, to work on, let's say, initiatives within the European Union, how to promote our, let's say, activities regarding that humanitarian catastrophe. And let me put it also by example, our I would say one of the greatest initiatives made more than 20 years ago when we established the International Fund, ITF, which was meant for demining activities. Here I have some data. This ITF fund, which was primarily focused on demining activities and, of course, some other activities relating to post-conflict assistance to children and other people, has so far to cleared more than 150 million square meters of land. It was cleared from mines, and with more than 20,000 mine victims have already undergone rehabilitation. Then, of course, they were very vocal on the rights of children. There are some examples. For example, Slovenia was among the initiators of the third optional protocol to the Convention of the Rights of the Child, giving the children path to bring their complaints on rights violations directly to the UN bodies. And last but not least, it was already mentioned here, our world initiative, so to say, on the B-Day, which was proclaimed or declared by the UN Assembly 2 years ago, is one among the most important initiatives in the world, reminding us of our not just interconnection, but also interdependence, not just among, societal groups and state and so on, but also in a broader sense with nature and so on. But let me say this, the multilateralism is definitely under severe attack. And I can say that some leaders today are making a very big mistake by thinking that the complex issues can be solved by a simple means. Sometimes we all need to cut the Gordian knot. From time to time it is necessary to push some development straightforward, but then there are so many knots all around the world which were tied, that they should be untied by diplomatic, political means, by multilateral approach, not by cutting them, because if you cut them, this is not sustainable solution. It will bring problems also to those who are doing that. I know I was a little bit too long, but...
No, but multilateralism, I think you touch upon a very important key. Multilateralism is under attack. I think there's no two ways about this. In fact, some of these leaders, which you mentioned, not by name, but by subject, of course, Ms. Espinosa, will convene in New York in a couple of weeks for the UN General Assembly. There are politicians who are appealing for a retreat from the world order. They're saying, we need to be more nationalistic, we need to be more protectionist. How do we reverse this trend? How do we reverse this trend? The United Nations is only one of many platforms, but how do we, with everyone here on this podium, before the two presidents as well as yourself, are clearly passionate advocates of multilateralism. How do we bring everyone on board?
Well, first of all, let me just start by saying that there is so much greatness in smallness, and Slovenia is an example of that. It's a great ally of the multilateral system, not only the B-Day, not only the fund for demining, but an active member of a group. And I'm bringing this up because it is extremely important. There's a group of countries called the ACT group: Accountability, Compliance, and Transparency. And I think that that's extremely important to make the UN deliver for the people we serve. So it is not simply advocate because multilateralism is so great, because, well, multilateralism is even a word that is difficult to pronounce,
right,
especially for me as a Spanish speaker, but multilateralism is about collective action that we need more than ever, global leadership that we need more than ever, and shared responsibilities for our commons. There is no other way. There is no plan B. Climate change. You know, is there any way that we can tackle climate change without the multilateral system in action? I don't think so. Migration, refugees, you name it. But the issue is that I think that we should be very clear. It's not an either-or response. And for us, the either-or is either you address your national interest and the well-being of your people at the national level, or you are an international player. It's either or. It doesn't go that way. Because if you do not tackle poverty and inequality in Malawi, then you will be faced with a stronger migration and refugee crisis. If you do not solve the conflicts in the Middle East, then you will be faced with other kinds of issues. if you want to create 500 million new jobs for 2030, that's the 2030 agenda, we have to work together. It's as simple as that. So there is no either or between national interests and the multilateral system. And of course the UN is the beating heart, the overall umbrella. But we do have to also look at regional multilateralism, which is so important. The European Union, and I'm not even looking at Minister Borrell because he made it very clear that not quite, not yet, but he is the foreign minister of Spain, the country where I was born, very proudly I have to say. But you know, it is so important to look at the European Union, the strength and the power of the African Union, of ASEAN, of CELAC, which is the community of Latin American and Caribbean nations. This regional multilateralism is the food, the seed for a stronger global multilateral system and the United Nations. And there is a lot to do, but what I can see just to close is that I do see the multilateral system in action every day. When we adopted recently the Declaration on Peasant Communities, human rights instruments, we agree on so many things. And the multilateral system should be about accommodating dissent. And here I take your words. We should be able to accommodate dissent and to live with dissent. Consensus is not about, it's about unanimity. And I learned that this year as president of the General Assembly.
And the relevance of the European Union, which you mentioned, Minister Borrell, again I'm asking you as the Foreign Minister of Spain. We need a strong and unified Europe. I think that much has become abundantly clear from the preceding session as well as this one. If you look at the current state of the European Union, do you see a strong and unified force?
Well, the European Union had a driving force, which was peace among Europeans. That's a big thing, incredibly big thing, coming from Warsaw. One had to make an effort in order to add the young people to think about the past, because we forgot about it. Second was shared prosperity through market and euro. It has been jeopardized by the last crisis, but it still is a promise of sharing prosperity. And third is, how do we face the global war? And I think it has to be the third and most important driving force today. How we Europeans, which at the end we are very few, very old, and very dependent, can survive in the global world. Let me put an example. When I went to the university, the Europeans were 21% of the world population, and Africa was 6% of the world population. When I will die, I hope it takes quite long before, more or less, Europe will be 6% of the world population, and Africa will be 21% of the world population. Just the other way around. We live in a, you say, multipolar world? Yes, maybe. But in fact, the G7 and GN, no, in fact, it is a world of G2. G2. China and the States. It's very unstable. If you want a more stable world, which can be the G3? Imagine. Who can be the G3? Who has the capacity, the technology, the power, the economy? Europe. But only a united Europe. If we are not united, we will not be able to bring to the world arena the third player. And we will be a kind of ruler takers instead of kind of ruler writer.
And be an influential player on the world scene. Wouldn't that be then beneficial? I'm looking over at Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu. He clearly, his country still aspires to become part of the European Union. Adding Turkey in the G3 that you call, would that not be of benefit for the EU?
My country, Spain, is very much in favor of continuing negotiations. We haven't given up. But bigger, it doesn't mean being stronger. It depends on how big is the united. If we more we are, the better, the stronger you are? Well, not always. It depends. It depends on the cohesion, the willing, a certain common understanding of the world. I think Turkey has a place on the big Europe. But nowadays, I think we have to strengthen the unity and the common understanding of the world of the 20, let's say, 7 members that we have.
Maybe at the end of the day, Turkey is not part of Europe, but it is an integral part and has been so for many years of NATO. As a matter of fact, Turkey, I believe, is the second largest contributor to the alliance, defensive alliance, which has marked its 70th anniversary this year. There are some people on the international scene that are concerned that Turkey is a bit moving away, not just from NATO, but also from the West. The S-400 missile purchases from Russia is one thing. The closer cooperation between President Erdogan and President Putin are giving great concern to some in Europe. Here on stage at Black Strategic Forum, can you unequivocally say, no, Turkey is not moving east, is not moving towards east, is staying firmly within Europe?
Slovakia also borders 300, as well as Greece and some other European countries, NATO allies from Russia. So when they did that, they didn't move away from Europe or European alliance. Look, as you said, we have been always a top 5 contributor to NATO activities and NATO missions. And we have been also contributing a lot to Council of Europe and OSCE. And Turkey is founding members of these 2 prestigious organizations. We can criticize OSCE for this and that. It has to be also very politically relevant organization. It is important for effective multilateralism. And we had to buy, first of all, S-400. And because it is our urgent need, and we try to buy this air defense system from our allies, from United States and from other allies, we couldn't buy it. And now NATO is not capable enough to cover my airspace. Thanks to Spanish Patriot and Italian Sentry. And now we have batteries along our borders. When we needed them, most, Germany, United States, and the Netherlands withdrew their batteries from our borders. So who is moving away from who? This is a good question, by the way. I wish I could buy this system. Today I want to buy more. I need more systems until I produce my own. And if I can buy Patriots or others, and we signed the MOU with Eurosun to produce and buy Santis, but this is a long-term project. If I can buy from United States, I will buy Patriots. If not, I will buy another S-400. Turkey is a sovereign country. And multilateralism is not against, by the way, sovereignty of any state. We have to make a clear line there. First. Secondly, when I try to make ties with other parts of the world, Turkey has been questioned for this. Is Turkey moving away from West? Is there a shift in the axis of Turkish foreign policy? But those Western friends, allies, have been in Asia for many years, ages, in Africa, in Latin America. My outreach Latin American policy, my partnership policy with Africa, and my Asia and EU policy are not alternatives to my Western policy, okay? And rather complementary.
But I think no one's denying Turkish rights to be involved in
so
other
why,
ways. It's about
why Turkey's question for,
the closer cooperation with Russia, the closer military cooperation. This is what many people in Europe are concerned.
We have just listened to the President of Estonia. She is very vocal, her country and the Baltic states. But now how many Western European countries are as sensitive as the others on Crimea or on Georgia? Turkey has been at every NATO ministerial, and at every NATO summit is insisting that membership action program has to be activated with Georgia. And our Western friends are against it. So, did you get what I mean?
I understand. Sir,
What I'm trying to say,
I don't have
what I am trying to say, I do buy gas from Russia, 50% of my gas. But Germany buys 100% of its gas from Russia. Okay, I do business with Russia. And I bought S-400 from Russia. But when it comes to Crimea, we disagree. When it comes to the territorial integrity of Moldova and Georgia, we disagree. We have been working with Russia on Syria. From time to time, we disagree there as well. So doing business with one country doesn't mean that there is a shift in your access or you are moving away from other parts of the world.
I understand.
And all those countries that are criticizing us, let me give you another example.
Just quickly.
I have to tell this. When we shut down this Russian jet, many NATO friends, colleagues from NATO member states, during the ministerial, advised me to normalize the relations with Russia. But the very same colleagues started questioning my relations with Russia when I normalized, upon their recommendation. And at the dinner, NATO ministerial dinner, I said, didn't you advise me to normalize the relations with Russia? Yes. Then now, why are you questioning me? They started laughing.
Well, there you go. On the record, please. Now, so we're stating here, I think I understood, I think we're stating here very clearly and for the record, Enderblad Strategic Forum, Turkey is not moving away from the East. It is and will remain a reliable partner to both Europe and NATO. Before we call out Miro Cerar, let's talk about your country again. It's come up numerous times here in Slovenia. We talked about many of the issues that are facing us today, from climate change to migration to fueling inequality, another very big issue. Where can Slovenia, where can Europe be a role model? Where can Europe lead the way here in tackling one of these problems?
Well, there are many areas where we can actually be a role model, or we already are a role model. But
which one? Where are we?
Let me emphasize one: the respect for the rule of law. It is, in my opinion, also a cohesive force for the European Union, because at the end of the day, we can have different interests, different opinions. But if we stick to our legal, I would say, commitments, to the rules and principles we embodied in our, I would say, acquis and other treaties, then, of course, we will stay connected. We will treat each other in a fair way, according to the rules, and our relationships will be predictable, and we will be able to build up our further unity, which we need so much for the future, for not just for the countries, but also for our citizens and for the world.
But you said, if I can just interject, you said in the terms of rule of law, Europe, we are a role model. But the truth is, of course, even within the European Union, there are countries where freedom of press is under assault. There are countries that are moving towards illiberal democracy. Is that not true?
Exactly. And this is why it is so important that everybody in the EU, and Slovenia does it, are vocal about this, are very loud when it comes to some violations of the rule of law or some democratic standards. Let me put it this way. Europe used to be in wars and conflicts for all its history, basically. Now for 70 years, we have had peaceful environment. We have been building this legal environment, standards of solidarity, cooperation, and so on and so forth. We have established Schengen area, which was really an achievement, and Euro area, of course, which is really an achievement if you look at our history. And this is why I call this role model, this is why I call it an example which can serve to the rest of the world. We're not the only one who have such democratic standards, but there are 28, maybe 27 countries in the future, which prove that we can live on the basis of such fundamentals. And believe, as I said, that this democratic standard, human rights, social rights, also this non-discrimination approaches, which we champion so much, are things which the world could watch every day and learn from us. I mean, we are not the best maybe in all aspects, but generally looking, Europe is now the place where many people from the world would like to live. It's why so many migrants would like to come to Europe, because they see this. And this is our responsibility also. We must not deteriorate. We must continue like this, because we cannot address, as it was put before, these global challenges by country to country basis. Even the biggest countries in the world cannot deal with the biggest challenges right now.
We must uphold the standard. Now, we're almost out of time. We're almost out of time before we close this session. And then I'm coming to you, Josep Borrell. You're going to get, please.
I am the one who has topped the list.
Come again, I'm sorry?
I think I am the one who has taken the floor of the list. Can I have a word?
You will definitely speak again, I promise you. I'm just going to do a very quick final round, because at the end of the day, I said the Bled Strategic Forum, it's great tradition. They have a young leaders program. Many of them are here in the audience. And if we're looking at individuals like Greta Thunberg and so on, the young people, the younger generation, are taking the lead where perhaps the elders and politicians have failed to do so, Ms. Espinosa, particularly the United Nations, of course, many of the issues that you have laid forth here. What is your message? We talked about multilateralism, the need for multilateralism. Very briefly, what is your message to the younger generation sitting here in the audience?
Well, I had the privilege to meet Greta at the UN on Friday, and her voice was so powerful, her message very clear. We have to really walk the talk on climate. And my message would be threefold. I think we do need more collective action, especially to take care of our commons, but we need to really work on a better multilateral system that is able to deliver more and better for the people that it serves. And I would just simply end by 3 deficits that we need to overcome. First deficit that we need to overcome, the communications deficit. We haven't been able to communicate to the people on the ground that multilateralism really can serve their needs, their dreams, and have a meaning for their daily lives. When we say the UN feeds 90 million people every day, it's true, but no one knows that we provide the vaccines for 50% of the world's children. People do not know that we are irreplaceable as a mechanism, as an organization. The second deficit, it is the stakeholder deficit. It is true that the multilateral system is intergovernmental by nature, but we really need to be serious about how to include, make them participate, all the major groups. Youth groups, number 1, women's groups, the private sector, social organization. We really need to have a predictable system to really overcome this stakeholder deficit. And the third and last deficit is our implementation deficit. This year, as President of the General Assembly, we have approved more than 335 resolutions at the General Assembly, which is our parliament. It is the parliament of humanity. We are the world's norm-setting body. But if we ask, among the 330 resolutions, what are the themes? How is that we're going to implement them? How is that we're going to transform and touch the lives of people on the ground? So if we are able to overcome these 3 deficits, I think we would be much better off, and multilateralism would be en pleine force. And sorry about the French word, but en pleine force in vigor and do what it is expected to do.
Thank you so much, Minister Borrell. The floor is yours.
I will try to be concrete about the role model of Europe. I think Europe is a role model about the 2 most important assets that humankind needs in the future. First, the capacity of sharing sovereignty. And the second, the Recherche-Vereniging, which is an old word coming from the 19th century, and to pull together our capacities in order to face the global problems. And in these two things, Europe is a real role model. Second, I want to draw your attention that the climate change that everybody talks about and everybody is in favor of fighting against it, puts the biggest redistribution problem inside the affluent societies. It's very nice for the young people from Sweden and from Germany to demonstrate, asking for, let's fight against climate change. Are they ready to compensate the losers of the climate change policies? Are they ready to compensate the coal miners in Poland? They will have to stop working. We will have to fight against climate change. I doubt. And third, I want to draw your attention to the fact that in the last 4 years, since the Paris Agreement on climate change, we haven't been able to agree on any world level norm. And they have multiplied by 5 the number of vetoes on the Council of Security of the United Nations. This is the world we are living.
Thank you. Final remarks for Mr. Çavuşoğlu, perhaps directed also to the younger folks here in the audience, the young leaders.
Well, today we have been challenging many problems, threats, and actually our societies have been facing all these challenges. And as the politicians today, unilaterally or multilaterally, we are trying to overcome these challenges. And the change of the world today is also presenting a lot of opportunities for us, but particularly for the young generation. But what I'm trying to say that youth has a better vision than us. They have idealism and they have the energy. I'm sure they will do better than us. They are doing better than us today, and they will be doing better than us in the future as well. So we need their idealism, their energy, and also their vision.
Idealism, energy, everything that you have also displayed here. At this panel, everything, all the virtues that you have displayed here in the past 60 minutes, pleading passionately and emotionally about the need for multilateralism in this system, ladies and gentlemen. I think I speak for all when I say this has been a very fruitful, very content-rich discussion. Maria Fernanda Espinosa, Josep Borrell, Mehmet Çavuşoğlu, Nino Serrar, this is your applause. Thank you so much.